y'all. How's it going? I know it's been a hot minute since I put any craft type videos out, but it's because we have been so busy. I've been super busy doing things for our little church. I made it a priority to make flower arrangements both inside and outside of our church building, both the sanctuary and when we did the landscaping over at the fellowship hall. Well, fall's here, and Sunday, tomorrow, on the 21st, we are having the 75th anniversary of the church, 74th homecoming, something like that. Hope I have it right. And I needed to have these things done. So it's kept me busy doing those things, and there will be videos coming out of that, both on the church website, Chihuahua Baptist Church, and also on my own website, showing you kind of some things that I did. But today we're going to start a two-part on our kitchen. I have wanted to remodel this kitchen, update it basically forever. In fact, we started about 5 years ago, I think, with our countertop. I think there's a 3 or 4 part series on that, and y'all, I cannot praise this product enough. You can't damage this thing. It is Stone Coat epoxy top coat, and we did what was called a dirty pour. You can look back at that if you like, but we didn't get our kitchen finished because what I'm looking at over here, which is terrible, we didn't have the time and we didn't want to spend the funds that it would take to hire some people to do certain things. But 5 years ago, we bought a new gas stovetop. We bought an appropriate vent hood that would start taking up those fumes and hopefully help with the grease that you get off of cooking from a gas stove. Well, and copper sink behind us. I had bought 2 copper sheets to do that countertop over there in copper sheets, along with part of the back wall. I'm not going to show you that until part 2 because it's terrible, and we have a lot of demolition to do. Randy does. We have to have an electrician come out to put a plug in where we're going to put our microwave and a new type of top lifting door hinge. Basically just redo it. But we started on this side about, I don't know, a month ago. So I'm going to show you the process. I finally convinced my husband that we should paint our cabinets because they were stained originally, and they were really a light, I don't know, awful color. I'll take a picture of the inside of the door, and then I'll take a picture of the outside of the door on this side to show you. But the other problem, we faux finished when I had my store. A couple of the employees and I redid the cabinetry with a little bit darker stain, and on the doors we went a little darker on the outside and a little lighter on the inside. But the knobs, 2 things about the knobs, the oil rub bronze knobs. First off, they've been on this kitchen since 2003. So what's that, 22 years? A lot of the back of the handle, even some of the front, had rubbed off the blackish color. So I wanted to update them with kind of a copper finish. I'll show you how easy that was to do. And the other thing about the stained cabinets is wherever you put your hands to open the doors or drawers, you get oils from your skin. It gets gummy looking. You cannot refinish it. I've tried many times before to sand it, restain it, and it never blends in. It just always looks, yeah. That's why I wanted to change these cabinets to painted. That's one reason. The second reason is that this is kind of an interior kitchen. There are no windows in this kitchen. There are over here and back here, a lot of windows. So we get some natural light, but no direct light. Plus, this is our back porch back here, and it's a covered porch. So again, no direct sunlight. These windows on that side are facing north. Again, no direct sunlight. I felt like this kitchen was super dark, and I wanted to lighten it up. So, in addition to showing you what we did, what colors we used, I'm going to show you a few items that I had that I repurposed, therefore involving the crafting. And then I will also add in how I decorated for fall. I got really excited to finally do some things seasonally in my own home. So I hope you enjoy part one of our kitchen makeover. This is the color it was originally stained. And it's actually more orange than this, than what the camera's showing up. Okay, now, this is what we did with it. But can you see all this mess around the handles? I mean, that's hands, oil, for years and years and years. And that's been sanded and touched up more than once. It just always looks terrible. At least with paint, you can wipe it, you can clean it. Worst case, you can repaint a section. So this section of upper and lower cabinets is where I decided to begin. And I really wanted to use Heritage Traditions paint because it wears so well. But y'all, I hated the color. I mean, really hated it. So as I looked closely, I had previously painted the center sink base along with across the way the stovetop base in Benjamin Moore Heritage Collection number 88, Jamesboro Gold. It's a brownish neutral. It is also 2 shades darker than what we painted all of our house trim in. So it totally coordinates with that. So I stood back and looked and I was like, why aren't we just painting all of it in that? So that is what we did. And because it's in the same color family as our trim and our wall color, because our wall color is a couple of shades lighter than the trim, it just blends. Everything blends. Before I show you a few of the prep steps that we did to paint the cabinets, let's talk first about the handles. Remember I mentioned the oil rub bronze handles and they were so worn. Well, now let me show you how I transformed them with a little bit of a copper tone. These kitchen doorknobs, oil rub bronze. They don't look oil rub bronze much anymore because they are very old and the oily bronze part has worn off. And since we are redoing our cabinets, I am going to fix these up. First thing I need to do is clean them. Some little alcohol. We built our house in 2003. So these knobs are 22 years old. The simplest way to change your hardware and have it stick and not wear off as easily is with rub and buff. This color is autumn gold, but it's not really a gold. It's autumn gold, so it has a more coppery appearance. I don't want to completely remove all of the oil rub bronze, but where it's gotten a little gold, especially on the back side, I'm going to add this to it. And a little bit around the outside edge here. Actually, I think I do kind of like just very light over the top there. So we still have some of that oil rub bronze look to it in the center. You see the difference? I really like that. So we'll do this other one, and then we'll go put it on the doors and show you the one cabinet that I've completed. Yay! You know, I had mentioned before that I really wanted to use Heritage Traditions paint, all-in-one paint. And it's because it is incredibly durable. It also has a sealer coat built in it. Okay, in addition to that, their prep steps and the product that they make is phenomenal for cleaning anything that you want to paint, but especially cabinetry. I had used this brand on our son and daughter-in-law's kitchen when they purchased their home in 2021. Not a nick on it, nothing, easy to wipe off. Well, the problem is they have color choices, but that's it. They don't make a base, a neutral base that they can tint for you, and so there wasn't anything exactly the color that we chose to use. However, I did have a few cans of their degreaser, and I noticed on their website now that they also sell their degreaser instead of in a can. They sell it in like a bucket of wipes, so you can just pull and use that. It's so much faster to clean your cabinets. You do, however, need to sand, as you just saw me doing, anywhere where there's grease buildup, oil buildup, like around the handles. So I purchased this little mix and wipe thing from Amazon. I'll link it in the description. Everything I'm using, everything I've purchased, I'll link in the description. And I just poured one of the cans in it. And it has like, I don't know, 100 or more wipes in it. So now all you do is take that wipe and you rub and rub and rub over all of the cabinet that you want to paint. Front. Now we painted the backs also. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm prepping. Now, why am I prepping this cabinet that's already painted in the Jonesboro Gold? Well, because it could stand another coat of paint. Because originally, that is the color that we used when we redid around the corner from our kitchen and made a pantry where we used to have a computer desk, and we used that color for the walls and the shelves. I didn't go buy a trim paint in Jonesboro Gold. I used that paint, which was basically a wall paint, and it was flat, not satin. I had top coated them, but that's just not, flat paint is just not as durable as a satin paint. You need to use something that is more for a trim work and cabinetry. So I'm cleaning this cabinet, and my husband, thankfully, he's a much better painter of this type than I am. I do not like this kind of painting. Walls, furniture, not my favorite. Faux finishing, I can do that all day long, but this, no. So I'm doing the prep for him and then taping off where it needs to be taped, and covering the floor, and then he gets going on it. These upper cabinets on this side of the kitchen have glass doors. Well, I did not want to paint the inside. I wanted to wallpaper it. And this is what I chose. It is a grass cloth that I got from Wayfair. It's, I think, very beautiful. And it matches our travertine backsplash. Also, we will eventually be putting lights in these cabinets. That was a chore. We used cob lighting and some connectors, which I will link them in the description box again below the video, and we did purchase them from Amazon. I'm no professional, but I have wallpapered many times in my life, but never with grass cloth. The important things about grass cloth is you do not want to get any of the paste on the front, because it just will show up and not come off. So I'll show you how I'm applying the paste. First thing was to measure and cut each section for each section of wall. Not going to turn the corner with this stuff because it's super thick. I am using Roman brand Pro 838 heavy duty clear wallpaper adhesive. Because the grass cloth is a thick material, I wanted to use something very strong to bond it. As I mentioned, you don't want to get wallpaper paste on the front side. So I used just a regular paintbrush, and I applied it to the edges first, fairly thinly. And then after I went around the perimeter, I used my big brush to go where I hadn't been, in the center, and it's a thicker application at that point. I needed some adhesive on the edges, but I didn't want the thick part to squish out, which is what can easily happen when you're applying wallpaper. You can wipe it off when you've got vinyl wallpaper, but not on grass cloth. So I went halfway down, and after that I folded it, and that's called booking. And I always knew which side was my top, which side was my bottom. So there I am folding and booking it. And then I use a damp paper towel to wipe around the perimeter to go ahead and get that paste off my little plastic there before I flipped it over and did the other side. For extra adhesion, I also brought the wallpaper paste inside and used my small brush to apply a very thin coat on this wall section that I was about to wallpaper. Being very careful to line up my top edge and my side edges. About the only way, other than pulling it back down, to scoot this stuff, especially once you've got it adhered, is to kind of slap the wall with the palm of your hand. And then you want to work from the middle to the sides with applying it to your wall. Now you do need to use something. I used a plastic, it's not really a scraper, but it's for wallpaper, to smooth it out and make sure you don't have any air bubbles. But again, as you do that, you risk pushing wallpaper paste out the edges. So with each wipe, you want to have something wet paper towel or something to wipe off that blade in case there's any paste on the pushing tool that you're using. So here was the before, and here's the after. And now we will decorate, and I'll show you some new things that I am doing and updating. Starting in this area of the kitchen, pretty much everything that's here stays the same every time except for the napkins. I do change those out seasonally. I will list the Amazon link where I got those. The only thing new that I purchased for this space other than the napkins was that candle holder that is a travertine. I thought it was gorgeous and I found that at Ross. Now to the right of it, let's talk about that because it is a thrift flip. I got this old clock that hangs on a real pretty little thing at Kirkland's a long time ago. Well, the clock stopped working. I tried to get my husband to take this part out, which he did, and then I thought, okay, well, how am I going to get this glass out? And I pushed on it, and then I messed up the paper, and also when he took it out, all the little parts, clock parts, messed up. But I don't want to get rid of this little hanger, so instead of it being a clock, I'm just going to find something to decoupage onto it, decorative. So, that's what I'm going to do. But first thing I have to do is put some Pentart bonding primer on that. And I'm going to need to let it dry overnight. I do want to look though, what's the diameter? So just a hair over 3 inches. I am not going to tape this off. I'm just going to be super careful. This bonding primer will ensure that my paint will stick to it. Definitely though, gonna have to let it dry overnight. After the bonding primer was dry, I then applied 2 coats. This is the second coat of just some white chalk paint. I believe it's Folk Art or Waverly Basic White. After the second coat was drying, I got out IOD's paint Inlay Melange and was looking through it to see what was in that I could use that was around 3 inches in diameter. I ended up deciding to use the rooster. I debated because this rooster is so gorgeous, just as is, full blown. But I have a lot of chicken stuff in my kitchen. So I thought, well, I think I'll just use the rooster's head. After I had cut it out, I thought it was a little plain, a little too much white around the edges. So I pulled the paper back out, and because there were some little flower and leaf things around there, and I cut 2 or 3 to add to the sides of it, the rooster's head. I applied the paint inlay in the traditional way of using wet paint to adhere it, following the standard things about using a paint inlay. Basically, the wet paint, then put your inlay down, press it in, use a damp paper towel or your damp sprayer and continue to press it and wet it and wait until it completely dries. You can tell when it's dry because it will gray back up and not be vivid in color. Once it was completely dry, I misted it again with water, kind of patted that in, and then slowly began to remove the paint inlay. And it just did a beautiful job of transferring the ink from the inlay into the paint layer. At this point, you need to apply a sealer. I chose to use DIY Liquid Patina in satin. I do have somewhere a spray bottle of 50-50 mix, but I couldn't find it, so I was just very careful in applying that so I did not smear the image. After the top coat was completely dry, I wanted to paint and add some color to my rooster in some colors that would match my kitchen. But here I'm looking at an image of our first rooster who has since passed. That was Rooster Cogburn. He was a beautiful rooster. Moving to the right of the sink, I first put a lamp that I've had for a long time on the bar. Had to do that first because I need to plug it in. You might notice, what in the world is that cording? We'll talk about that in a moment. Next, I put my little wheat pot back. I got that at Kirkland's, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. It hides the plug. I have a little pumpkin trivet that I got this year at Hobby Lobby. And then I have this iron teapot type thing. Honestly, I can't remember where I got it, but I have a candle in it that operates off of a battery. And then that little tiny cutting board I got from Hobby Lobby. Something is going to go on top of that. Look for that in one of the next videos. In the alcove between the two outer glass cabinets, I have this square ceramic tray. I've had it for years. I got it at Amazon. I will look to see if they have the same one. But I used my Cricut to put that message on it. We love these little travertine salt and pepper shakers. They go very well with our travertine backsplash. Got those at Amazon. I will put the link. And here's a close-up of the saying. In the far back corner, these next three items I've had for many, many years. A little decorative metal bucket that is tall enough that it hides the plug. Now, the lamp. This lamp I got at Target years ago. I love it because it's a fillable lamp, and each season I can fill it with things that are appropriate. These crocks I have had for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. I do not use them for what it says, flour and coffee, but I just use them for decor pieces. I think they're very pretty. Now let's talk about that lamp. I do not like seeing the cords. It bugs me, especially when you can't completely hide it. So on YouTube, I saw a lady I follow. She's from England. I'll have to put her channel name in the description box. But she used hemp cording to wrap her electrical cords from lamps to make it more decorative, using just a little bit of glue from a glue gun. It's pretty low heat. It's not going to burn the cord through. You just secure it at the beginning, and then you wrap. If you run short, like I did in about 2/3 of the way down, you just start with another cord, glue that on, and go all the way to the end. On the opposite end of this length of countertop, next to our refrigerator cabinet, again I have a plug that I need to hide, but that image, that picture, I purchased on Etsy in a grouping of fall photos. Got the frame at Amazon. Now, I wanted some sort of a little tray to hold these items, and my husband had a piece of wood that was a live edge, and I asked him to cut a length of it for me. The mushroom and the acorn there were from Hobby Lobby, and the little candle I think I got at Hobby Lobby also a few years back. Now in the corner, to hide the plug, I purchased an amber glass vase this year from Hobby Lobby. I just thought it was gorgeous, and to fill it, rather than using something real, I used a pear branch that I got at craftoutlet.com, just one. And I also, well, it was one, but I cut parts of it off to shorten it. So there are two looking stems in there, and to make it look even more real, I add water, a little water, to the bottom of the vase. I bought this box at Ross for like, I think it was $9, but it was really bright on the top. It's for the kitchen to hold all our medicines and vitamins. So I'm antiquing it a little bit with paint Couture, light brown sugar, antiquing glaze. And then I think I'm going to work on that handle. Maybe make it look like copper. To the left of the box, in between the box and the lamp, I wanted to layer some cutting boards. Now, this little cutting board I got at Home Goods, but I didn't like the color. So I left the back the color it was, and then I just stained the front of it. This little recipe book I got at Amazon, and I just love it. It's
a blank where you can write in it, and I intend to write my favorite recipes for combination dinner. This starling antique little bowl I got at Amazon. I'll put the link in the description box. That scoop was from Hobby Lobby, and I also purchased this little teaspoon wooden set along with some wooden measuring cups that I'll show in a moment from Amazon. And lastly, a beautiful little copper sifter. Don't know if you can see there are holes in that side, but you can use it to sprinkle cocoa or powdered sugar on top of a dessert. When I was designing this kitchen years and years ago, there was that dead corner right there, and I didn't want to bring the doors all the way to the edges because it would look weird and they would hit each other. So what do you do with that? Well, I just drew in some wine storage. We really don't drink wine very much at all, so that is why I filled it with other things. This is a marble mortar and pestle that I got from Amazon. And some beautiful wooden measuring cups, also got from Amazon. Aren't they pretty? Some rolling pins, another old mortar and pestle there. But these little things I love. I got these at Etsy. They are dipping bowls. So I love to cook Italian. I make focaccia bread and make a dipping oil for the bread. Aren't they unusually shaped? And that's what they're for. They're dipping bowls. There are 6. Now that little bowl, I think I got that at Amazon too. But it matches perfectly with the dipping bowls. And I just felt like that was a good place to store them. You know, lighting in a kitchen is one of the very important features that you need to think about. Well, our under-counter lights, well, we never had any. And it would cost a lot to have an electrician come and hardwire and all that mess. And then have to fix wall finish, which I was not going to do. So I found these on Amazon. They are USB chargeable, and they have both motion, or you can turn it to permanently on. They're very easy to attach. They have like 4 settings of brightness. These are the warm whites, and on the back, that's magnetic, and you've got the little magnet strips up under there, and so you can easily put them back on. So I had the 14-inch size, and I also got a pack of 10-inch for some other little spots. I knew when adding the wallpaper in these areas that it wasn't going to show up without lights. Now, this is a form of hardwire. Has a remote control, as you can see, and it is LED cob strip lighting that I got at Amazon. I'm going to list in the description box everything, but I had to order different fasteners than what came with it because they weren't working with all the intricate connections we had to do in those 3 boxes. 22 years ago, it was not all that popular to have your cabinets go all the way to the ceiling like it is now. So the things that are up there are basically things I've had up there for a very long time, and I do like them. But this piece right here, it used to hang over our stove. Well, here we go. This is an old piece that was hanging above my gas stove up on the wall, and it was very greasy, dirty. It was awful. Well, I sprayed Easy Off oven cleaner all over it and let it sit, scrubbed it, and it came beautifully clean, but it did take off most of the finish, or a lot of the finish, and turned what was originally copper looking to yellow. So I sprayed it with some hammered copper, and we'll be reusing it in a different location in the kitchen. Let's talk everyday living in the kitchen and practicality. I've shown these salt and pepper shakers, and you might be saying, Janet, that's a weird place for salt and pepper shaker. Well, it's there because that is where we fix our food. Here is the second example. This is my husband's candy bowl. It is a requirement to be out in the kitchen. So, it was just a metal bucket. I got this beautiful fall looking cloth napkin from World Market, and it just kind of at least adds a little bit of something for all his candy. Not my candy. I'm a diabetic. I can't have any of that. Looking at some additional decorative elements, this is a view into the kitchen from the main hall. That picture has been there for many years. I would guess at least 15. This little area, again, we had some dead space on either side of the sink when I was designing it at the angle. So I created 2 little alcoves for hand towels, which again, I can change seasonally. On this end of the cabinet, I had something hanging there before, and I want to hang it again. So the first thing I am using is a command hook that actually has like a nail head on the end of it. This is an antique bundt cake pan. I actually did a video of planting real succulents in it, but I didn't really take care of it, and honestly, I think you can find faux succulents that look just as real. I've prepped the command hook. One side will be stuck to the back of the pan, and the other side will be stuck to the wall. So I put the little hook through my bundt cake pan, and then I can put it exactly where I want it and press it in. Now I will remove the pan for a little bit because it says to leave the command hook on there maybe 30 minutes or so. Command hook's a little crooked, but it won't matter because you'll never see it. This is the view looking from the bar side, living room, dinette area behind me, into the kitchen. Now that end cabinet was the only other end cabinet that we didn't have something on, and years ago we were at some antique place and we found this copper, I don't know what it is, a ladle of some kind. So that is hung there. The last area to decorate in this kitchen redo part 1 is the bar top. Now you've seen the lamp that I had previously plugged in. This is new. It's a little cloche from Home Goods, and inside are some faux muffins. Now I've had them for quite a while. They were from Amazon, and I will try to link them. And the next little item are a sweet pair of birds. Now, 2 things. I redid these birds, which I'll show you in a second, but I have to tell you the bird story. Okay, this is from my parents. My mother had a sweet little set of lovebirds on their long countertop in their bathroom, and they were always beak to beak, unless Mom was upset with Daddy for some reason and Dad wasn't noticing. So if he wasn't paying attention, she would move the birds apart further and further and further until He got the message and said, okay, what's wrong? What did I do? Well, Randy loved that story. And so the first little set of similar idea, not birds, were these cute little angels that I inherited from my grandmother. And then I have another set of actual birds on our back porch. Don't look too closely, it's dirty. We need to power wash this back porch. So that's the bird story. Now here's how I changed them from gold to copper, and I bet you can guess how I did it. You are correct. Autumn gold rub and buff. Now for the right side of the bar top. Ignore that black plastic you see in the hallway there. That was protecting the floor while we paint, and we're not through, so it's still there. First up is a riser that I got from Home Goods. And next is a very pretty checked dish towel from Crate and Barrel. On top of that is a dough bowl that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. To fill the bowl, I combined old with some new things. This very old glass potpourri thing I had. I used most of it except for the orange slices that were in it. They were black. They were gross looking. So I eliminated those. Then I added some cloves to give it a nice smell. And then I added a couple of new things. I have a dehydrator, so I took 2 oranges and dehydrated them, and they worked out fine. I tried to do some limes. That did not work. So I ordered these 4 little limes. I think it was either from Etsy or Amazon, but I will find out where and again put that in the list. Lastly, I added 2 candlesticks from Hobby Lobby and some seasonally orange candles also from Hobby Lobby. A little trick to make sure that your candles stay straight and not wobbly in your candlesticks is to use a little ball of museum wax on the end of it, and they stay straight and tight. To end this long video, let's take a closer look at everything that we did. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, bye, keep looking up, and have a good one.